What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, and we are back with another Tottenham update. And I'm joined today by Brian Daigle, who's in the building to go through all the latest Tottenham news and where to start. But big Harry Kane news coming from David Ornstein over at The Athletic. This is regarding, obviously, his protracted move to Bayern Munich. He says Bayern have seen their latest offer for Harry Kane rejected by Tottenham after proposals in June and July turned down. Bayern were 25 million short of Tottenham Hotspur's valuation. Talks last week led to an improved bid, but that has now been knocked back. And Ali Gold has backed that up to that and says, as per David Ornstein, Spurs have rejected Bayern's bid for Harry Kane. David Ornstein goes on to say, indications right now are that Harry Kane doesn't want to sign a new contract with Spurs, but equally the surroundings are that he is really impressed by Ange Postecoglou and is enjoying training with the team. He also goes on to say Spurs remain hopeful that they can convince Harry Kane to sign a contract in his last 12 months. So, with all the talk of deadlines and big bids from Bayern Munich, some saying 86 million plus add-ons, that has now been knocked back after Daniel Levy completely gave Bayern Munich the cold shoulder of their deadline. They wanted an answer before the weekend. Levy obviously waits till Monday afternoon to give an answer, and that answer is a big fat no. What do you, 9 exactly? What do you think this means for the deal? Do you think that is the last bid we're going to see from Bayern Munich? They said on Friday that was their final and fair offer. Do they stick to their word, or for you, do they go in for another improved bid?
Well, first of all, and people get ready. This is where Levy is good. This is where Levy is good.
Levy's got something.
This party is, and you know what? You've poked the bear many times, and now he's biting back. We knew this with Manchester City, wasn't it? He has a number. You hit it, you can talk. If you don't, go away, and I'll do all the tactics I can to annoy you. And this bid has been rejected, and it's a huge boost for us. Do I think there's one more bid coming in? Yes. Yes, I do. I think there'll be one more final. Like you said, Simeon, I think we all knew that the deadline was nonsense. It was a pressure tactic, and you look stupid. Bayern are making themselves look stupid, which is brilliant for us. But I do expect one more bid. But right now, it's reason for optimism.
Well, they don't have long to put in that bid because it's now Monday. Spurs start their season in 6 days' time away at Brentford on Sunday, 2 o'clock. Harry Kane has stated that if he is in the team for that game, then he will be remaining at Tottenham for the remainder of the season. And surely at this point, with Ornstein claiming there was still a 25 million gap in the valuation, and Bayern claiming that was their final offer on Friday, I'm guessing to try and pressure Spurs into accepting. Maybe the odds now are in favour of him staying rather on Friday. It did look at a point there was a little more likely that he was leaving than not. Now that bid being rejected, do you reckon those 4 goals against Shakhtar in the final friendly yesterday had any sway in how Levy was thinking with this bid?
Maybe, but I think, do you know what? I think when it comes to this, I think Bayern Munich have one more ace up their sleeve, and their final ace up their sleeve is Adidas. That's where I think you might see Adidas come in and pony that money up and get a boot deal with, with Harry Kane. But obviously, he comes on, scores 4 goals. All the hype was about him. People say he can't play in an Ange system. He might not be able to play it. Well, all right, it was only a friendly. You scored 4 goals.
Yeah, I mean, people can't say after yesterday it was only friendly when they were making judgments about him in friendly games where he wasn't as involved. And apparently the team looked better with Richarlison in the team. But then I don't think the team has looked as good as it did yesterday in any other friendly game.
No, you're right. I joked about it in our earlier video, didn't I? Say 5 million a goal, it's gone up. But yeah, I think Bayern have one more ace up their sleeve, and it is Adidas. And we'll see. I think 86 million, the first bid may have been just Bayern alone. I think Adidas might have something to do with this next bid, and I think there will be one.
I think this is very significant in my book, and I think that with Bayern, going this far and still not being able to get to near the valuation that Tottenham are giving, I just don't think they get there. I just don't. I think that unless they really thought that Tottenham were in a position where they had to sell, which I don't think Tottenham feel as desperate as Bayern think we do. I think most other clubs around Europe in this position would probably sell at this point, but because Kane means so much to the club, and because we know we're more likely to finish in Champions League with him in the team, and with it being Ange's first season, I think we're just more inclined to reject the bid unless the offer is very much in our favour and the offer is right. And right now, 86 million plus add-ons, depending what the add-ons are, that's not a right fee. Levy's looking for 100 million base fee plus add-ons, and if they're not going to hit that, we're going to try our luck in trying to convince him to stay. And I'm not against that, as much as the cloud hanging over the Harry Kane debacle isn't fantastic for everyone. As long as he's on side with how we're playing, and as long as he's performing on the pitch, and if we can put this saga to bed for this season, as much as you might get some questions during the season, what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be better for the team. We all know that Kane has respected the players. Yep. Kane has respected the fans and the club. So whatever happens next season, he's always going to retain that. He's never going to lose that. So for me, if we're dragging our feet to get the best fee, I'm not mad at it. And if it means that we get to see Kane for another season at this club, and even if he ends up leaving on a free, I'm fine with it. And look, it still leaves that outside possibility. Whatever people want to say, I've said this consistently, football moves very, very quickly. And as much as right now, the idea of him signing a new deal is very far away, in 6 months' time, it might not be. Yeah,
I mean, do you know what? We've spoken here about how poor Bayern have acted. We've spoken about how determined Levy has been to get his man, to keep his man. But as you said, I think there's one person that's getting overlooked in this, and it's Ange Postecoglou. With hearing these words that he's enjoying training, he's been impressed by Big Ange. Look at it when it was Man City and it was Nuno. Man City and Nuno was in charge. He didn't want to know. He obviously wasn't happy with that choice of manager, and Ange has had a little time to impress him. And the little time he has, by the sounds of it, he's really bought into what Ange is saying. I think he deserves some credit in this as well.
Yeah, I think so as well, and that's definitely a positive, and he seems happy when he's on the pitch. I know the first couple games wasn't the best from him, but yesterday definitely seemed back to his best. He seemed like a proper part of the system, and I have no doubt that Kane will be fine in this system. Absolutely fine for all the people who have been doubting it, and I think yesterday was an answer to that, as much as, look, we'll have to see how it goes when competitive games start, but look, I think it's positive news, and let's hope that this is the final bid from Bayern and we do get to keep him. But we are going to... Look, it's not going to stop until he lines up for that game against Brentford. We won't really know until then. Next story, though, comes from Dan Kilpatrick again. He says, Mickey van der Ven and Alejo Veliz set for Spurs medicals today. Romano follows up on that, saying Mickey van der Ven and Veliz both undergoing first part of the medical test. And as new Tottenham players, announcement for the players expected later this week. So these are obviously underway and set to... This is set to be completed. I don't think there's going to be any trouble there. Van der Ven was seen in the stands yesterday at the game, so no questions about that. Veliz has been seen walking around parts of London today and yesterday, so they're clearly both on their way. So positive moves. Obviously, getting a new centre-back in is very, very positive. Shame it didn't happen earlier, and he could be better. Now, I'm not so... angry about the Veliz one happening late. That can happen. He's a young player. He's going to be for the future. But Van der Ven, especially given how young he is and and his lack of experience, the more time he would have had with the new manager and with his teammates during pre-season, the better. So we're going to be kind of chucking him in the deep end if he is going to start on Sunday. And if he doesn't start, that's even more of an indication of how earlier we should have got him. But look, it's positive that we're getting that new centre-back through the door, and I'm very, very excited to see how the team will look once that is settled. Yeah,
like you said, having Van der Ven in now is just good to get him through the door. The quest is over. But like I said, we were talking earlier, I would have liked to have seen him get minutes with Romero against Barcelona. So at least he gets some game time with him before the start of the season. But by the sounds of it, his paperwork won't come through in time. So it would be literally chucking him into the deep end. The Veliz one, like you said, this is one that could have happened at any time. I don't think it's going to have a major impact in first-team football immediately, like Van der Ven will just walk in. The deals are getting done. Like you said, again, it's just timing, isn't it? That's been the problem once again. It's timing. But we needed to sort out that left centre-back, and we have.
Brian, in terms of the price for Van de Ven, at the beginning of the window, we were talking about 25, 30 million. Now the price has been revealed closer to 50 million euros, which is about 43 million pounds. And by all accounts, for a player who's played only one season in Germany, yes, he's a player that we definitely need. I'm not saying it's a bad signing, but we probably have overpaid, I think I would argue, for a defender like that. So do you give the hierarchy credit for just stumping up the money when in other seasons maybe they would have just turned away from this deal and said it's too expensive?
So the way I look at it is kind of like when the David Raya deal was going on, people were like, is he worth 40 million? Is he worth? And I said, you know what, if you look at it, because of the situation we're in, we need to replace Lloris. He hasn't had competition. He's English. He's homegrown. Spurs have got themselves in that place. I think to Spurs, he was worth 40 million because of the void that we had. And I'm kind of like that with Mickey van der Ven. We needed a left centre-back, a recognised, established, and when I say established, I mean that's his position, left centre-back. We've needed it for, 3 years now? And then we've come off the season where it had been our worst defensive record in the Premier League. I think you had to pay it. If that was the man, you've got to remember as well, Ange wanted him at Celtic. Ange wanted him here. So it's a good indication that Ange did get his man. So I'm not really bothered about how much we're paying or in what is it 30 and 20 or 40 and 10 as what reports are. We needed a left centre back that could be there for a considerable amount of time, that needed certain attributes, and he's here. So for me, he's worth the money.
Yeah, but do the board deserve credit for just going the extra mile and to get him?
In a way, yes, they do. In a way, yes, they do. And like I said, I'll give credit where there's due. Again, they lose a bit of it where it came to the timing.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Where they've gained some points for getting the man wanted and spending the money. Well, if he'd done it earlier, he would have had more time to settle in. So he deserves credit in one sense, and he loses a little bit on the other.
Fair enough. But let's look forward to some player announcements later this week, so keep tuned for that. Next up is a story from Dan Kirkpatrick as well from the Evening Standard. He says that Hugo Lloris, Tanguy Ndombele, Joe Rodon, Jed Spence are all placed on the transfer list, with Spurs hoping to accelerate outgoings this week. Ali Gold has backed up that story, saying in defence, offers will be looked at for Davinson Sanchez, Joe Rodon, Japhet Tanganga, as well as Sergei Reguilon, Jed Spence and Hugo Lloris. Also have to to finalise exits. Offers for Ndombele will be listened to in the wake of Lo Celso's resurgence under Postecoglou. Harvey White is likely to be granted a move should a good offer come in. So a lot of stuff to happen in regards to outgoings before the end of the transfer window. In terms of the names on that transfer list, Jed Spence being named among them. Does that surprise you, that the fact that he's only been here a year, never really got a chance last season, and now we're sitting here a year later? Everyone was very hopeful when we signed him. We signed him for about £15 million, that he was going to be a future right-back for us. And now we're sitting here a year later, and we're not talking about him going on loan. We're talking about him being on the transfer list. Does that surprise you?
Well, first of all, Dan Kilpatrick's been a very busy boy today, hasn't he?
He
It's
has.
like every story's come from him. What I will say is that we're just talking about credit, and if whatever, this was a club signing, wasn't it? We've heard Antonio Conte say it. Did I think he might get an opportunity with Postecoglou? Yeah, I did. But I wouldn't say I'm surprised. He hardly got any Premier League minutes, did he? He's come back, and obviously he's not Postecoglou's cup of tea, and we're going to try and recoup some of the money. But this is the thing. It was a club signing, and I wouldn't say I'm surprised that this is happening, but it's just a shame he didn't get a chance.
It is a shame. I'm slightly surprised that we're not considering loaning him. But then I think about it, and Emerson and Porro right now are not exactly that much older than Spence. They're both like 23.
Yep.
Spence is 22 now. So I could say, let's loan him out. But when they come back, just Porro and Emerson don't look to be going anywhere anytime soon right now. And they're still young as well. It's not like we have an aging right back where it's like loan him out for a year and then we can come. Like if Doherty was still here, I could say loan out Spence and then Doherty can be sold and bring him in. But like Emerson and Porro are also young in themselves and they're like looking good quality. So right now there's not going to be much of a pathway for Spence, as painful as it is, and it's very frustrating that he never really got a chance, especially under Conte. But I'm looking at the situation now, and I can understand that if we get a good offer, we should probably consider selling, because as much as it for the future he could be good, Porro and Emerson are here right now and they're preferred. So unless Postecoglou has long-term doubts about either of them, then it's probably worth selling Spence at this point, because he's 22. He's not like he's a teenager. He does need to play. But if there is a loan deal in the offing, and we can send him on loan and then assess Porro and Emerson over the season, I would still consider that option, just because we know that if Spence can have a good loan move, then if either Emerson or Porro, we're not sure about one of them, we could always have Spence coming in and we can save that money. So that would be still a good option. But I can understand if Spence just wants a permanent home. He just does want to be loaned out and just not be settled anywhere. In terms of the other players on the transfer list, I think they all make sense. Lloris, for obvious reasons, unwanted by the club. Joe Rodon, we know at centre-back, hasn't really done it. And I think at this point, he's not young. I think he's near 25 now. Yep. Definitely he'll want to move. I don't think anyone's been convinced by him. Sergei Reguilon, not surprised by that. He hasn't impressed too much in pre-season. I don't think he's suited to that inverted fullback role. We do have Ben Davies on the books, and we have Sessegnon as well, so there's a bit of cover there.
And Van de Ven can even
Van
play
de
that
Ven,
push.
exactly, potentially going left back. So I think that makes sense as well. But I guess also an interesting one to point is Tanguy Ndombele. There was a lot of hope before the pre-season that he could have a bit of resurgence, and by all accounts, for me anyway, I think he was going to start that first pre-season game against West Ham, and then he got a last-minute injury which prevented that. The consequence of that injury was actually Lo Celso got that chance against West Ham and really impressed, and hasn't been impressing ever since. So he looks like he's set to stay. And with all the players we have in the squad, I just think it's a numbers game when it comes to Ndombele, and I think that, as Ali Gold is saying, that Lo Celso resurgence has now forced Ndombele out the door.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come back. Well, I want to end off with a Spence thing, but I'll come back there. If you look at it, we've got a very bloated squad, haven't we? And there were going to be people going. I think every Spurs fan would probably have a list and may have a couple of different people where say, like Spence would say, maybe give a chance. But Tanguy Ndombele was definitely one of the people that a lot of people wanted to get rid of. One thing I will say, again, in support of the board, God, what's going on with me? In support of the board is we're hearing a figure of 11, 12 million. Now, if they're prepared to do that, that is taking a huge, colossal hit. And that was one of the things we were worried about being overpriced and keeping players and not letting them go. So if they go ahead and take the hit on it, well done on taking a huge hit, because it's what needs to be done and get him off the books, especially with his huge wages. But going back to Spence very quickly, with Spence, when it comes to it, what do you reckon his value is now? Does he hold the same value? Has it gone down? As he's young, could we try and get... This is where I'm looking at with Spence. What kind of value are you looking at?
I would like to think we can get our money back, but you would think because he's had just no football, our team's going to be prepared to pay 15 million. Maybe we'll have to take a bit of a hit on there. Yep. But I can't think, still, at least 10, I would have to say at least, for a player who, remember, he was in the Championship Team of the Year 2 seasons ago. Yep. So... I thought he did impressed in various ways at Rennes. We had a bit of a hot and cold time there before picking up an injury. So I think he does retain some value, but I can't expect a profit on him.
Well, we were blessed. We got to see about 15 minutes of him.
We did, a rare sighting.
That's it. You could have We Survived Dyer and We Saw Spence t-shirts.
We saw Spence. One of the very few fans who saw Spence in the flesh. Next story is coming from Ali Gold, and so for Sky Cover first. It says Tottenham manager Ange Postecoglou wants another centre-back alongside Mickey van der Ven before the transfer window shuts. Ali Gold also says that Spurs have distanced themselves slightly from Edmund Tapsoba talks in recent days, with Leverkusen seemingly unwilling to sell for a realistic fee. So in terms of centre-back, it looks like Tapsoba has gone a bit cold with the fee they're demanding, especially, they just got a big fee for Diaby. They've got no reason to sell and lower their fee. Tapsoba's a big player for them. So when it comes to another centre-back, do you reckon we will bring one through the door? Will there be a lot of talk with little action?
I hope we do. But then now you look at it, Tapsoba sounds like because of the cost going down. Tosin, and the fact
we've overpaid for Van der Ven as well.
Yep.
Probably.
Tosin preferring Monaco. Obviously, there's this talk of the Torino defender, but I don't know enough about him to say what I think of him. But who else could there possibly be? I mean, obviously, there's loads of defenders out there, but not that we've been...
There's talks of tentative talks of Antonio Silva from Benfica, but there's also saying that he's going to command a similar fee to Tapsoba. So if that's the case, that rules him out. It kind of depends what defender we want as well. Like, are we looking to spend big on another defender, or is it going to be a Tosin kind of fee? Because I think Tosin's got 1 year left in his deal, so he's not going to command a massive fee. But then again, are you getting a defender who's up there with some of the other better centre-backs in Europe, like Tapsoba is? So, for me, I'm actually quite doubtful whether we will bring, especially with, let's say we get rid of Rodon and Sanchez, which still leaves us with Dyer and Davis as backup to Van de Ven and Romero. And as much as I don't like them, I think the club would see them as viable options, as much as the fans probably won't. And I think that's a reason why, if we sign Van de Ven, I can actually see the club saying, like, looking at other centre backs. But I can see the club like bulking up a lot of the bigger prices and just go with the justification. We've got Romero and Van de Ven for big money, and Dyer and Davis can be backup centre back. And actually, maybe they will justify it with Ashley Phillips as well.
Yeah, as you were talking, I just realised as well what we're speaking about today, that we're playing a certain team tomorrow, and there's a certain defender there that I do not want to see, and I've made it very well known. I'm just starting to think there's more and more to this Clement Longley. I really don't want to see him. I would rather not bring another defender in than see Clement Longley. That's how I feel about it with him. I just don't think he's suited to a back four. But that's the name that's not going away, isn't it?
Yeah, Clement Longley is continually cropping up, isn't he?
Yep.
Throughout the whole window. It would make sense as well that if we're going for a cheaper option, maybe Longley is the one we bring back. But I mean, for me, I think Davis is as good as Longley, to be honest. So I wouldn't even go for it. I'd rather have just Davis and save the money. Have Davis back up left centre back. But look, I hope we bring another one before the window. I've just got a sneaky feeling we're not going to. We're just going to go forward with Van de Ven, knowing this club. But we'll have to wait and see. But also, I guess depends how good Ashley Phillips is and if they can trust him to be back up. But he's still very young, 18, so I wouldn't want to put that pressure on him.
And you got Dorrington.
And you got Dorrington as well. So maybe we'll consider the options we have. I've got a feeling we're not going to spend big on another one. And the final story comes from Ali Gold, and it's about Gift Orban. And he says that Tottenham have a strong interest in Gift Orban. There's also been a few suggestions surrounding Twitter that potentially Tottenham could make a move for Gift Orban regardless of Kane's future, and potentially loan Gift Orban back to Ghent if Kane were to stay, and then also keep Kane if he was looking to go. And I think that's actually probably the best of both worlds when it comes to this kind of deal. I think he's one I don't want to miss out on with the kind of fee they're talking about and his current potential. He's banging the goals for fun at such a young age in the Belgian league. Part of me also doesn't want to bring him in and have that pressure of being the number one striker straight away, because he's still very young and we don't know what level he's at, even though he's playing very well. So I think, in a way, a loan deal back in Kane stays is perfect all round. Then I guess it leaves questions if Kane wants to sign a new contract, what we do with that. But I still think that's a good option. And also, I think if Kane was to leave and we bring Gift Orban in, you still have Richarlison there as our number one striker as well. You have Orban to try and, push Richarlison and also prove himself. Maybe he's better than Richarlison. So I think a deal, regardless of Kane, I really hope that's something we strongly consider. Yeah. But then, if we don't get the outgoings, it's a lot of money. It's a big outlay, I guess, without the Kane sale.
It is, but I love the idea. You got to remember with that as well. You got Valise coming, and we said no to loaning him back to his Argentinian club. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be there as well. So when these talents become available, and Genk, I think buying him and loaning him back to Genk is a smart bit of business. So then you've got a striker ready for if and when Harry Kane leaves next season. If he's there next season, there's someone there. You're not immediately looking for a huge replacement because you've got to cover. He does look at an exceptional talent that's only going to get better. And these are the kind of deals that we used to do that we pulled off that we're great at. Getting these young talents in and nurturing them and getting them to where they need to be. So I think if it comes to it, we'll now see, won't we? If they said with or without Kane, that could have just been media talk to keep it going. And if Kane does stay, let's see if they're legitimate, if they're legitimately serious. But I'm with you. I'd love to get him and send him back on loan.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great deal. Just a quick follow-up on the Kane story. There's been an update as we're speaking from Sami Mokbel, and he is saying Levy is staying strong with regards to what he views as a fair deal for Kane, and has rejected Bayern's fresh offer. The two clubs are around £25 million apart in their valuation of Kane. The guaranteed portion bid from Bayern Munich in the last bid was around £73 million, and that was deemed too low by Levy. Kane looks increasingly likely to see out the final year of his contract at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So that is the latest on the Kane story from Sam Mokbel. But look, that's all the story. That's all we have time for today.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us for the Tottenham update. Let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on everything we discussed today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.